Judges, are you with me?
Yeah, you may begin.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. 15A,
Okay.
your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Chinese Premier Mao Tang-sang quoted that the political power moves at the barrel of the gun. Today, the gun is held by the communist regime, and the trigger is world domination pointed right on ahead. And the most interesting part is China is winning the battle without even actually firing the barrel. Good afternoon, good evening, judges, and everyone else present. I'm 15A, and I'll be speaking for the motion. The problem of China is not alone of India. It is actually of the entire world. Today, I can speak how China has destroyed democracy in Hong Kong, or I can talk about how it has militarized Spratly Islands in South China Sea, despite its claims were ill-founded by the International Court of Arbitration, or how it has managed to veto the motion on dreadful terrorist Masood Azhar, or how it has violated the provisions of World Trade Organization and manipulated world trade. Or I can talk about China's military aggression towards its neighbors and has undermined international laws. And I can talk about China's strategic and most crucial support to North Korea and its strategic investment in Iran. And I can also talk about China's information censorship, for which the recent example is coronavirus outbreak. They hide from us about the pandemic, about the coronavirus until it became the pandemic. The Chinese Foreign Secretary Hu Jingholmes has said in an international forum that the China rise in the world has been a peaceful rise. Well, blunderers, the people of Korea in 1950, Russia in 69, Vietnam in 79 would beg to differ because they were all victims of territorial aggression in which all China was the aggressor. But today we'll talk about how can we stop this flaring dragon to cover this world with its wings of domination. China has rose to such power because of its unique economic tactics it has shown to the world. It has it has huge investments in almost all continents and all companies, but when it comes to itself, is closely monitor foreign investment, ownership, and companies in its own territory. China, when it comes to India, China also has also strategically invested in India. India's wide consumer-oriented companies like Make My Trip, Ola, Oyo, and even Zomato, and has gained wide control on consumer data. In 2019, China control on India's automobile industry stood at 40%, metallurgical industry 17%, power 10%, and service 4%. Before Indian government banned 59 Chinese apps and recently 118 Chinese apps, there were 500 to 600 million Indian users using these apps, which allowed Chinese company to attain wide unregulated information access of the users, which is stored, analyzed outside India. With this strategic investment, China has been able to gain information access and data control on more than 50% of Indian population. So many would wonder, what difference does it make? Like many countries do that, and many countries do store consumer data, and many companies and countries send it abroad. Yes, but on the other side, we don't have any ordinary country or company. We have a communist regime which has gone war with us in 62 and various confrontation down the years. And when it comes to, and recently its lust for land grab has called 20 Indian soldiers martyrdom in Galwan Valley. That's a pity. Yet many Indians still are habitual of using Chinese apps, ignoring the fact that this money is directly used for suppressing human rights in China. In 2019, China export to the world stood at $2 trillion and nearly reaching $100 billion to India. China has used this money to suppress Falun Gong practitioners, a yoga kind of practitioners in China, military development, and aggression against its neighbors. And recently, we have in India and Japan. We have learned about the recent development in which United States and its close ally Britain decision in banning Huawei from developing 5G network in both these countries. This decision was taken ahead of Huawei's involvement in compromising and illegally storing consumer data. Possibly, this consumer information can be used by China against any specific country to which it feels threatened. The Chinese information technology law specifically suggests that the Chinese Communist Party can ask for the consumer data from within the Chinese companies which work in China or abroad. USA again in the Trump administration have put a lot of trade sanctions on China, and how China has retaliated is known to all. It's the starting of a new Cold War. It is there. But I must make it clear today that trade sanctions by one country does not make any difference, because we are not dealing with any ordinary country. We are dealing with a communist regime, which is the world's second most largest and powerful economy, and its population is already in billions. It
Last two
has to be
minutes
a
remaining.
collective effort. Thank you. It has population already in billions. It would not put much effect on it. Recently, last month, when Australia asked for an independent investigation about COVID and blames China for its reckless actions, the retaliation Australia had to face was tremendous. It banned all foreign students from enrolling in Australian university, put hold on trade with it, and even sent its navy in Australian waters and neighboring countries. It's time we need to pull all diplomatic triggers to stop this aggression of China. It's time we need to break the economic bondage and dependence on China through strategic means. And this can be only done through strategic boycotting. US Secretary Michael Pompeo recently said that the distrust, verify, and ignorance, the old paradigm of blind engagement with China has failed. Thank you. I hope I put forward the motion.
Thank you, 15A. 9B.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes. Yes, you're audible.
Hello, am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
Shall I begin?
Yes, your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
There is a question that inevitably arises from standing for the motion and replying affirmatively to the question of expelling the dragon, which is, can we afford to expel the dragon? And the answer to that question in the context of the precarious present and the foreseeable future, which I presume to be the context of this competition, is a resounding no. I just want to clarify, speaking against the motion doesn't necessarily mean agreeing to or even supporting the expansionist approach of China. No, we have come a long way from the Nehruvian days of Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. My point here is merely one of exercising caution. India's approach to the growing nuisance of China should be calculated, considered. Our moves should not backfire and they should not be counterproductive. In the face of anti-China sentiments owing to the ongoing pandemic and the recent intrusions in the Pangong Sol Lake area and the South China Sea, it is understandable to have this urge to act, to retaliate, and to do something, even if it means banning Chinese mobile apps. And the alternative, not expelling the dragon, it isn't flashy, it isn't conspicuous, but it is sensible. In today's age of globalization, where fates of important countries are inextricably linked to each other, as evidenced by the 2008 financial crisis, it has become increasingly complicated to be hostile towards the world's factory, that is China. This is one of the reasons why the USA, despite its vehement differences, hasn't completely cut off its relationship with China. The world needs China. India needs China. China is India's second largest trading partner, and that too by a narrow margin, amounting to more than $80 billion worth of trade. About 14% of India's imports are from China, while on the other hand, a mere 0.9% of China's imports are from India. Losing India as a trade partner will have little impact on the Chinese economy, but unfortunately, it's not the same way the other way around. In the inauguration session, the judges mentioned that it's a good thing that we are having this virtual meeting on Microsoft Teams instead of Zoom. But I would like to point out, with all due respect, that we are having this meeting on Chinese manufactured devices nonetheless. And sure, we could manufacture them in India, but I feel I believe that we fail to grasp the environmental cost that Indian citizens will have to bear if all of this manufacturing was set up in India. Take the example of $8 billion worth of chemicals that India imported from China last year. Manufacturing these chemicals has put Chinese citizens' lives and their health at risk due to the extreme pollution levels. In matters like these, is it really a good idea for India to be self-reliant? I don't think so. And the real problem is that a lot of these things that we import from China, we can't get them from anywhere else, at least not at the same similar or a lower price. And what about essential commodities like medicines? 76.3% of all antibiotics that India imported are from China. And it's not even end of the line consumer goods that India imports. It's also capital goods and intermediate products that are that are necessary to manufacturing in India. Essentially, made in China helps make in India. 18 of the 30 Indian startups have Chinese investors on board. Names such as Flipkart, Paytm, Zomato, Ola, Byju's, which define the Indian startup domain, have hundreds of millions of dollars invested by Chinese companies such as SoftBank, Alibaba, Tencent. Not to speak of the huge sum of money invested by Chinese engineering companies in Indian infrastructure projects. And moving on to rebuttals, I would like to counter some points. One especially by participant 11A, where she talked about the PPE kits, the large number of PPE kits being manufactured by India, and India being the world's second largest manufacturer of PPE kits. Although the government's efforts are commendable, it is also important to note that quality is as important as quantity. Sure, India has manufactured a lot of PPE kits, and not just PPE kits, but N95 masks and ventilators. But there have been public statements from leading doctors of leading hospitals and even the president of the Indian Medical Association that these PPE kits and these N95 masks, these Indian-made ventilators are not up to the mark. Their quality is not up to the mark. They're not even worth using. They're just sitting there in the godown. That's how bad their quality is. That's how bad the quality is. And participant 15A was, I think, loosely referring to referring to Iran and all such projects that Chinese infrastructure projects. I think he was loosely referring to the Belt and Road Initiative or the string of pearls theory that China. Well, I would like to remind you that India already has a counter in place called the Diamond Necklace Strategy, and also SARC and Act East policies. Outright blanket banning China is not the only option that we have to counter China's growing influence. And to conclude, I would like to reiterate that India should not give in to the unabated ambitions of China without putting up a fight. No, uh, definitely, but absolute boycotting and outright expelling China isn't the right way to go about it. This push for being Atmanirbhar shouldn't drive us towards protectionism and autarky. We had an experience of that many years ago during the license Raj, and it was terrible. It held back Indian economy for decades, while economies similar to that of India prospered. Case in point, China. Like it or not, India's $3 trillion economy pales in comparison to China's $15 trillion economy, considering that we both started from the same point, at the same point of progress and same point of history. And but we are also one of the world's fastest growing economies, and we can catch up to China. We must keep developing India and attain a financial, political status similar to that of China's. But I think that is impossible without Chinese involvement. And until we achieve that level, I think we should just keep working on India's progress, not just internally, but also externally, by maintaining diplomatic relations with China, however unpleasant they might be. And only when all this is done, then can we even think about expelling the dragon. Until then, I would like you to leave with a quote by Niccolo Machiavelli. If an injury has to be done to a man, it must be so severe that his vengeance must not be feared. Thank you.
Thank you, 9B. Thank you, 15A and 9.